Another live broadcast in a single day. We were just at Bowling Green, one of the most intense matchups. We'll see if this one can top it off. It's the Heat hosting the Knights of Franklin Classical on today's Extreme Game of the Week, Part 3, our first Part 3 of any broadcast in the weekend. You know the stories between these teams. Middle Tennessee Heat 0-2 being dominated by at least 30 points or more against the Hendersonville Christian Academy Crusaders in Week 1, and in Week 2 losing by 30 points to the one and only, whichever team it was that I'm losing at my time, Christian Community. And Christian Community just had a dominant win last night, 52-12 against Franklin Christian Academy. So just to give the perspective on that, Christian Community is 3-0, and this is the last game of MTAC play in this week, and then we'll talk all about it on the show tomorrow. Then, of course, you look at the Franklin Classical School Knights. They've only played one game, and they won against the Riverside Christian Academy Knights down in Fayetteville last week. Great matchup that James Shannon and Trent Legate saw in there. So we're proud to bring it to you here with 8-Man Extreme. Spencer Thompson saying good evening, everyone, with James Shannon for tonight's broadcast. We got the starting lineups and everything between these two teams that James is going to give us right now.
Yeah, shout out to Webb and HCA for my swag, by the way.
Bias. No bias, no bias. It's multi-team diversity. Yeah. Would be the term.
I represent 8-man football across the board. If you want to give me swag, I'll wear it.
Give him a patch so he can have the web thing and put a bunch of patches for all the teams on his shirts here.
I need multiple shirts. All right. Well, one of the big things for me with this game, before I mention the starting lineups, these are two original MTAC teams. 2008, I take that back. Classical was actually playing 11-man in 2008, but they have been around 8-man since early 2000s. And these teams go back to 2009. I've had a lot of great battles between the two of them, so it gets renewed right here tonight at Mount Juliet Christian Academy, where the Tennessee Heat play their home games. Starting lineups for tonight, for the Tennessee Heat on offense, you're going to have Clint Collins and Ryan Scott, the two receivers that Collins on the season so far, 8 catches, 112 yards, and 1 touchdown, rather. You're going to have Ryan Scott also, Sam Wills. I'm sorry, that's on defense. Justin Goolsby. Kanan White's the starting quarterback for the Heat. And he is 23 of 47, 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the year. The last 2 games, 19 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown as well. So over almost 400, 500 yards of offense. So a very productive season so far for Kanan White. James Redding is their running back. And on the year, he's been very solid. You have, with 3 touchdowns, Isaiah Mason, Micah DeGrude, and Elijah Diaz round out the offense. Defensively, Clint Collins and Ryan Scott as well. Sam Wills is on defense. Justin Goolsby is also on defense. Kanan White will be on defense. Brock Holly, Isaiah Mason, and Micah DeGrude on defense. Now, over the last 2 games, Collins has 8 tackles, Goolsby has 11, and Redding has 10. So they lead the team in tackles so far on the year. For Franklin Classical, their starting offense is led by senior Cole Warren, who so far this year, or last week against Riverside, was 9 of 17, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And as far as rushing attack, Eli Cornett, who's going to be starting offense, Josh Pace contributed, and Caden Dickerson contributed as well. But them, as well as Warren, combined for 263 rushing yards. So a multi-headed attack for all these guys. So Eli Cornett, Jaden Frazier, Cole Warren, Josh Sperry, Josh Austin, Sam Ellis, Jack James, and Isaiah Austin are the starters on offense. Of course, 9 seniors on the roster for Franklin Classical School. On defense, Eli Cornett, Josh Pace, Jaden Frazier, Ray Harlow, Caden Dickerson, Josh Sperry, Sam Ellis, and Jack James will all get the start on defense. So we're getting set for a great matchup. We want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us. And we're going to have a great show tomorrow. So far, I'm 3-1 on my predictions. So we'll see if I go 3-2 or 4-1. But really great ball game earlier with Bowling Green Christian and St. Andrew Swanee. Oh, yeah. We talked a little bit. We'll talk more in depth about it on the show, but it came down to really the wire with St. Andrew Swanee getting that last touchdown at the end, which we'll give more discussion in depth on that in the show and such. But, you know, it was just an intense game all throughout and tied at 19, and then finally ended with the Swanee Mountain Lions bringing a victory home and saying they have to go back to the mountain to be ready to host Riverside next week. Spencer, when we mentioned the show, what are we talking about?
Extreme Radio. Radio presented, built, scattered, smothered, covered, whatever you want to name it. Built by MDI Construction.
Yeah,
yes. That's where we're going after this game. That's
history.
That did not say that, but so Extreme Radio built by MDI Construction Inc. every Sunday 4 p.m. right here on our YouTube channel. You can go back and watch those shows. We talk about the games. We usually have an interview, maybe 2 interviews. We also do some stuff on that show about talking about the games that we saw from last week, what analysis we have for that, and then our predictions for the next games weeks, and reminding you guys of what games we'll be broadcasting next week, which we do that on the broadcast anyway. But
yeah, and I just wanted to give you all an update on the scores in case you haven't seen us on our social media. Of course, you can follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can obviously you're on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe and get the notifications for when we go live. But last night, of course, you had Franklin Christian Academy losing a tough one to Christian Community, 52-12. You had the Webb School beating Hendersonville Christian, 55-20, and then you had South Haven Christian topping Riverside Christian, 40-26 down in Fayetteville. So some good ball games, of course, combined with the one earlier, and then tonight's ball game should be a good one. So we're getting set for action. We'll have the coin toss for you momentarily, and I'm ready for some football.
The Tennessee Heat about to run out into their banner there, so we'll get the camera rotated around. The Heat and the Knights next. Oh, the captain's.
You want camera or you want mic?
All right, so the coin toss about to happen between the two teams here.
Where the coin toss will be held.
And we'll get a shot of that. Hear the referee's words.
All right, fellas, got a good night for football. You're the captains of your team. By virtue of that, I expect you to display good sportsmanship tonight. Can I count on you for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Be the visiting team tonight. You gonna call the toss for me? Yes, sir. Got a heads here, the football helmet, or tails with the NTF away hit. What are you gonna call? Heads. You call heads. Drop it. We'll toss it again. And it looks like you've won the toss. What would you like to do, sir? Defer. Would you like to defer? Yes, sir. And you guys would like to receive? Yeah. Is that right? You'd like to receive? You'd like to receive? Which direction would you like to kick in?
We'll kick towards this forward.
Okay, stand here for a minute, please. Franklin Classical won the toss, elected to defer. You'd like to receive, and you're going to kick toward the scoreboard. Okay, if you will.
Franklin Classical won the toss. They're defer. Tennessee Heat will be receiving.
I'm sorry. You're right. Got receiving the Heat, receiving the ball. Yeah, let's take cash. We're going to get started. I guess we're
So Franklin Classical won the coin toss, elected to defer. So the former Middle Tennessee Heat will win, or will receive the ball to start the first half. Do you want to say something? I turned it down.
Back live. Gotta start grabbing something to drink. All right, you over there. All right, you ready? Nobody's watching.
Back live up in the press box here. Again, the Knights won the coin toss and have elected to defer. So the Heat will receive the ball for the first half.
Yeah, Spencer, looks like number 13, Ray Harlow, set to kick it away. And back deep, it's number 1, the junior, Clint Collins.
And with the kickoff, we are underway in Mount Juliet. The ball just barely stays in bounds, and the Knights recover it. Went 10 yards, and nobody from the Heat reacted there, so the Knights will get first possession.
Looks like a miscommunication there for Clint Collins. I don't know if I think he was thinking punt, where if the offense touches it or the kicking team touches it, then it's just downed. But on kickoffs, if the kicking team recovers the ball, they do get possession of that. Hence the onside kick. So maybe a little just a misunderstanding of the rules there.
So the Middle Tennessee Heat not getting the ball for first possession they were originally kicked to, but the Knights with a great recovery here as Cole Warren takes the ball running on the left side. He's brought down by James Redding. Looks like a loss of about 1 on the play, 2nd and 11.
Yeah, great pursuit there from Redding, and that offensive line from Classical, they've got to step up and protect better. You know, last week with Riverside, Cole Warren, especially in that first half, it was the Cole Warren show. And, he was able to run around and make some plays. But tonight, it looks like the Heat have scouted that, and they know just to put pressure on him and not to worry so much about the pass right off the bat.
Actually, no loss on the play. It's 2nd and 10 as Warren tosses it on the right side. A short pass looked like it was intended for Jack James, the senior. So that'll bring up 3rd and 10. Cole Warren just throwing it short.
Yeah, just a misread on the route there, and right off the bat, Classical looking a little rusty, and the Heat. It's not so much that they've made play. Matter of fact, they made the mistake on the opening kickoff. But it's all tonight. It's going to be all about capitalizing on mistakes.
And it looks like Cole Warren was looking at the bench there, talking to Coach Seth Witherington, and just a little bit confused on what was going on there. So 3rd and 10 as Warren looking on the right side and fakes the pass, going with the rush here. Collides directly with number 2 of the Heat, Ryan Scott, and gets a few yards gain on the play there. And looks like with that, it's down to 4th down, and they'll spot this ball.
It's going to be about 9. Well, let's see where they put it. It's going to be about 5 yards.
And they get a gain of 5, so it's 4th and 4th and 4. They say 6 yards, and the PA announcer saying 6 yards, so it's about 4th and 4 here for the Knights, and going for it so close here as Warren finds him on the left side. That's number 1 of the Knights. That's Frazier getting the ball. And Frazier will get the first down for the Knights. A good choice to go for the 4th down conversion on that play.
Yeah, and if you're the Heat, you have to be aware of that, and you've got to know that more than likely they're going to pass the ball on 4th down. If you're going to take a chance, you might as well go big or go home. So if you're the Heat, you got to be prepared for that, and you got to be able to read all of your options. But Franklin Classical has so many receiving options that you have to prioritize.
And here's a new 1st and 10 for the Knights, and they hand it off. That's to Eli Cornett going up the middle, still on his feet on the left side. That's a touchdown for Eli Cornett. The freshman at 5'8", 140 pounds, puts 6 on the board for Franklin Classical.
Yeah, Cornett had a rushing touchdown last week against Riverside, I believe, too. So freshmen showing up. There's been a lot of freshmen actually across the league showing up. Of course, you had over at South Haven, you got Ding and Crawley playing the cornerback, playing the defensive back positions. So a lot of freshmen across the league stepping up this year.
Here's the 2-point conversion attempt, tossed on the right side, overthrown by Warren. So 2-point conversion no good. With 10:06 left to go in the first quarter, it's 6-0. The Knights take the early lead after successfully recovering the opening kickoff.
We're just trying to have fun.
So the Knights will kick off again. Hopefully the Heat won't make the same mistake they did there. I'm sure Coach Ryan Scott giving the guys a thorough chewing out for not getting that successfully.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they pulled out that rule book and double-checked that one and let their guys know. So he'll be wiser this time on that kickoff. But it wasn't a deep kickoff either, just a little squib kick. So we'll see what they do here.
Ray Harlow taking the kickoff here, another senior for the Knights. They've got a good amount of seniors on this team, and there it goes. And it missed, fumble there, and it is loose. It looked like it was picked up by Boone Russell, the sophomore, but it's still, the ball's still being scrambled for. Looks like the officials ruling here that it is in possession to the Heat. It looked like number 1 for the Knights is not here on the roster, and Jaden Frazier, as James is telling me here. It looks like he almost got the ball there. It wasn't fully possessed by Boone Russell, but they ruled it down by contact.
Yeah, and you know, good job. I mean, a little bit of a mishandle on the kickoff there, but good job to recover it and give your offense a chance to get on the field.
So here is 1st and 10 here for the Heat, but a flag called for delay of game on the offense, and that'll bring it back 5 yards.
That 40 seconds, that's the fastest 40 seconds of your life. That 40 seconds comes up quick on you, so you gotta be aware. I'll tell you, and I'm surprised they don't have it here with MGCA being a TSSAA team, but most places have a play clock.
Shot clock.
Shot clock, yeah. Play clock for high school football, and I think that's something the 8-man should look at. I know a lot of people use different fields, but you know, I think it's something that you have to invest in to prevent those delay of game penalties.
That's a great rush on the right side by 24 of the Heat, James Redding. That's the junior in the rush on the right side there, but it looks like we have a Knight down on the Knight side. Someone down there trying to see his number there. Binoculars would really help in this case. But, trying to see if that looks like it may be 22, Caden Dickerson, the senior, who's down. Looks like it might be 22.
And he's had some injury issues. He had some last year when the injury bug hit Classical really bad, and so looks like Josh Austin checking into the ball game here as they're going to move some players around. But yeah, you hate to see a senior like Dickerson go down. 9 seniors on this Classical roster, and a lot of leadership there potentially. But you know, we'll see what happens here.
It's unfortunate to see injuries at any level of any sport. I mean, we've seen even more injuries with the Christian Community game on Friday. We saw a bunch of FCA players being injured, some of the Christian Community guys banged up, and also we saw some injuries today at Bowling Green. It looks like he's back up on his feet. That is Caden Dickerson, and he's at least jogging. Yeah, it looked like he was down for a little bit there, but he'll go to the sideline just to be looked at by the training staff. And in for him was 55 Josh Austin, the sophomore. He's a sophomore at 6'4" and 225 pounds. Why do you think they don't have him in the game already?
Well, I mean, it's just a matter of rotation and getting everybody a chance to play, keeping everybody fresh. He's checked in at defensive end there on the left side, so they're going to have their hands full over there.
So here's now 2nd and 7 for the Tennessee Heat. Motion on the play. So it's pitched out to 24 of the Heat. That's James Redding, who's tripped up behind the line of scrimmage. But
we got a flag
yeah,
over
we
on
do
40, near side 40.
Do have flags over on the near side 40. So likely it may be a false start or an offsides.
Let's see what we've got.
See what the referee signals here, just trying to clarify it. I believe they called an encroachment on the offense. I'm not sure what that signal was there. Illegal motion was called on the offense.
Yeah, you can't have more than one person moving at one time before the play. You can have someone going laterally or backwards, but you cannot have someone going forward, let alone two people. So just another, just a small mental mistake there that if they clear that up, they should be all right.
So here's now 2nd and 12 after the penalty, and there's a toss on the left side. That's caught for the diving catch. It didn't look like Clint Collins was even touched down there, and the referees ruled the ball dead. I guess they were trying to prevent a potential injury there in case of someone trying to go in and tackle him.
Great catch by Collins there, third-year player. He was with the co-op last year, was an all-star last year, and so he's really been able to make some plays for this Heat team. He's been one of the bright spots. But also Kanan White, their junior quarterback, being able to make his reads and make the plays. And I'll tell you, he's a big boy. He looks like a quarterback. I mean, we've got two good quarterbacks tonight between Cole Warren and Kanan White.
And Kanan White, the sophomore starting quarterback in the pocket. He's going to take the quarterback sneak, but easily read by the defense. Brought down by Josh Austin.
Jack James in there, too. That senior defensive line making moves.
So the Heat will take another loss on that play, and it goes to 4th down and about 10. So essentially as if they gained no yards on the play, and especially they got hit by penalties on that drive.
Yeah, you got to make that read a little bit better if you're White. You got to know when the defensive line is pinching down. That offensive line, I talked about Classical's offensive line, but the Heat's offensive line, they got to step it up. They're facing some big boys tonight and some experienced boys, so they've got to know that, and they've got to make those plays they need. DeGrood to punt it away.
Yeah, DeGrood taking the punt away, receiving it is number 1. Again, I still got to get that number written down on a roster here. And great punt coverage by the Knights, and they managed to get him down there. Great punt coverage by the defensive team at the time there, the Heat. So the Knights will take over on their own 30-yard line.
Yeah, that was some great, I know we said it, but that punt coverage, just staying in their lanes, breaking down, and two guys being there. It speaks to Classical not making the play that they need, not making the blocks, but at the same time, the Heat being disciplined enough to make that play and pushing Classical back to their own 30.
Of course, Cole Warren, the senior for the Knights, leading his team as he is sacked. The offensive line failing him. There's number 22 of the Heat, Redding, just making that good tackle there, and he's one of the team leaders in tackles. Now I believe that puts him at 11 tackles so far in this game, unless he's had some prior, but one of the team leaders for the Heat.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that was on the co-op last year, and I don't know if he played in 2015, but played in that co-op and just kind of came out of nowhere. He contributed last year for Hendersonville Christian, but so far this year he's really stepped up for the Heat and made some plays for him on offense and defense, as shown there.
Here's Warren alone in the shotgun, and they're going to stop the play. Your false start call on the offense, and they'll move this back 5 yards. And they already had to move back a little bit for the sack, about 6 yards. So that'll make it second. They called it an illegal procedure, unless I believe it was a false start. It's just the PA announcer saying illegal procedure.
They're pretty much the same thing. If you got a guy that's moving when he shouldn't be, they're pretty much the same penalty, but puts it at about second and about a quarter of the field.
So here's Warren again in the shotgun. A little bit of a sketchy snap as the intended pass is incomplete. That'll bring it down to 3rd down. Knights are in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, it's and the Heat, they're really adjusted to knowing that there's going to be a passing attack. They got 4 on their line, but then their corners and their linebackers are forming almost like an umbrella, almost like a rainbow. And so they're staying up top, and they're giving their guys. At this point, it's 3rd and quite a bit to go. So you can give up 10 yards, but you have to keep the receiver in front of you.
And there's a good break of a tackle there by Eli Cornett, who's rushing up. He doesn't manage to make it back to get the first down there. Gets back to originally where they started, just about a few yards short of it. So 4th down and 12 here. So the Knights are just going to punt it away.
They should be punting away, and I believe Harlow will come out. Well, they're setting up offense. I don't think they're punting it. I think they're going for it, unless Warren quick kicks it.
Yeah, Warren might do that. It's going to be interesting to see what they do here. And there's Warren. Yep, he will quick kick it. So it's out, and fair catch called by Eli Cornett. Not sure why he tried running there after the fair catch. He could have let the penalty
he was
occur.
kind of hoping somebody didn't catch him waving his arm all the way up in the air with 100 people here.
All right, so the Heat back on offense.
And really good field position for the Heat too. I mean, they're going to take over with their own 45. That punt earlier from Micah DeGrood paid off because that defense stepping up paid off because now they're able to, I mean, essentially move up from the 30 to the 45. And they only had to run 4 plays on defense. So good efficiency there by the Heat.
We'll see if they can have some more success here on offense, possibly get a score to tie it up. Just looking for redemption after missing that opening kickoff. And here's Kanan White alone in the shotgun with a man to his left. And here's White, scrambles around to the left side, looking for someone to pass to, takes the rush, goes through, and gets to about the 48-yard line. That'll be second down and 7. It's an interesting move there by Kanan White. He didn't have a receiver open there.
Well, it looked like a designed run. It looks like he was just trying to find a hole coming up, and he got a few yards there. But that, I mean, I said it. That offensive line for the Heat, the offensive line for Classical has struggled. They're struggling right now. But that offensive line for the Heat, they're struggling just as much. The guys up front, Sam Ellis, and the other guys on at defensive end, Jack James is stepping up in there. So they're going to go 4-man front right here. That's something that the Heat is going to have to adjust to. They don't have any seniors on the team.
So here's I formation for the Heat, pitched out to James Redding, going on the right side, finds a hole there and gets a lot more, goes down to the 39-yard line. Great run by James Redding. He just found the opening.
Yeah, he broke down and was able to find that hole, and a good tackle there by Classical too. Just a textbook tackle. I mean, that's what coaches teach right there. And we heard, I was at the Webb HCA game last night, and Harold Vaughn for Webb broke down, made an open field tackle on the Hendersonville sideline. And Coach Meek said out loud, he said, that's a true tackle. That's what we teach. And that was a textbook tackle that coaches work on for hours during practice. Just break down, shoulder pads on the legs, and bring them down. No helmet to helmet. That's what you like to see.
So here's 1st and 10 for the Heat, marching into Knights territory. Here's Kanan White again, looking for the pass on the left side, scrambling around. He's got some time, and he finds it in the middle. Justin Goolsby with a loose ball.
Oh, they're going to call it incomplete.
But they call it an incomplete pass.
Incomplete on the play.
And it looks like we have one of the players down. That was a big hit, but injured. Yeah, looks like Justin Goolsby is a little bit shooken up.
I didn't see who laid that lick, but man, he laid the wood to him, and just another textbook, completely clean, you know. But if you're a receiver and you're going to come across the middle, you better be ready to take licks like that, because if you've got a good linebacker core for the defense, they're going to know, and they're going to be able to make that play that when you come across the middle, you're going to pay for it.
Injury timeout. So Justin Goolsby will head to the sideline to get looked at by the training staff.
Goolsby on the year receiving, you know, they tried to get that to him over the across the middle. 4 catches, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he's been a good contributor there for the Heat, and they hope that he can get back into it.
So we'll see what the Heat can do on this drive after the incomplete pass. It would have been a great catch if he had held that in, but still they go off for injury. But unable to. 2nd and 10. Here's White with motion on the play. And flags thrown. Just a little bit of false start.
That looks like number 75, Harrison Miller, the 8th grader, starting at right guard for the Heat. And just a young guy missed that. That's a big 8th grader, though, 6'2", 220. We've seen some big Riverside's got a big 8th grader. We saw him last week. So boys just getting bigger as they get younger.
And head coach Ryan Scott will certainly talk to the offense about those false starts and try to get them worked out.
Yeah, it's just mental mistakes. It's stuff that you know, it's so easy to fix, you know, just focusing and concentrating and paying attention to snap count. That's the biggest thing, you know. And if it had been a receiver or something, that's one thing. But you're the guard. You're right next to the center. You're next to the ball. You got to be able to see that.
That's why they do some drills in practice of move your feet and then drop. They have those drills there to keep their focus as a timeout is called here by the Heat with 3:47 left to go in the first quarter. 6-0, the Knights lead the Heat. So the team's coming back on the field after the Tennessee Heat called a timeout there. That was now 2nd and 15 with the false start. 3 receivers on left, 1 on right. White alone in the shotgun. Ball snapped. White looking on the left side. He gets it to Collins, and Collins fumbling the ball a little bit, but keeps it there. Tackled from behind for maybe a gain of a yard on the play. Joshua Sperry, the senior, getting the big tackle there.
I'll tell you something that I like to see in both of these organizations. Very classy, but I mean, we haven't seen it on Sportsmanlike. Of course, it's only first quarter, but it is a tight ball game, and you would think at some point someone would do something, but both of these teams are super classy. I don't know that we will see it on Sportsmanlike unless something gets out of hand.
And we've seen some on Sportsmanlike Connects. We saw players ejected from the game last week up in Madisonville. They're hosting Hendersonville.
We saw it 2 weeks ago, Madisonville and South Haven, man. And Madisonville has issues with that, but you know we've seen penalty the first week Heat in Hendersonville. Hendersonville had a guy that got flagged for it. We've seen several flags for it, but it's just something that in the heat of the moment stuff happens, and you know, of course the guys make up after the game.
Here's White scrambling on the right side, looking for the pass, and it is incomplete, overthrown, intended for Ryan Scott there. Looked like it was uncatchable, maybe unless he tried Santonio Holmesing it, but unable to on that drive. It's 4th and 15 here, so likely we're going to see a punt away.
Yeah, and this would be really interesting for a punt because, you know, the ball's spotted about the 44, 45-yard line. And, I mean, if you can get a good punt, get it down inside the 10, that field position – I mean, they're playing a field position battle. It's a field position battle right now. And so far the Heat, it seems to me, are winning it.
So they are in punt formation. The Heat going to punt it away. Looks like it's third. Looks like 41, Vincent Theus, who's punting it away. Just a low punt there. And it is touched by 40, Chris Savely. So the Knights of Franklin Classical will start out this drive on their own 18 with 2:39 left to go in the first quarter.
The 1st and 10 Knights on their own 16-yard line.
I usually just give people updates on timeouts or stuff. I don't need to do it every single drive. It's annoying. I've learned from guys who they're saying. Do you know the conversation side? The backwards baseball camera. There's a mama camera. Just a little bit of stoppage here. Unsure what's going on here in the field. The referees just okay. They're having a discussion with Heat's head coach Ryan Scott. Ryan Scott just trying to clarify some things, possibly talk about some rule clarifications.
This is where mics would come in handy on the far sideline.
Yeah, have a sideline reporter ask Coach Ryan Scott, "Hey, what were you talking to the ref about?" And then he gives one of those TMZ worthy explanations. Any coach could do that in the heat of the moment, of course.
Or he just gives coach speak.
Yeah, coach speaking something. He's like, vague. Any coach could do that anyway. Cole Warren faking the handoff to one of the Heat players and still going through, pushed it through, and gets to about the 29-yard line. It's a good gain for about a first down, a little bit more.
Play number 11, Cole
Good
Warren
first down for Cole Warren.
That's a first down.
So here's Cole Warren on the left side. Quick toss to Frazier as he gets tackled down by several Heat players. Took a lot to get him down there. Ball spotted at the 32-yard line, so it'll be second down and 7. Jaden Frazier, the senior, at 6'3", 180 pounds.
Yeah, Frazier, his first and only year here with Classical on the, I want to say it was the Independence team a couple years ago that did really well, but took a year off, and now he's back his senior year playing for Classical, and they're appreciative to have him.
So second and 7 here as Warren fakes the handoff, goes for himself on the left side, and manages to get past the first down marker and more to the 42-yard line. A great run by Cole Warren. There's a reason why, with his arm broken, that the Knights didn't have as successful a season as they wanted to with a key player like Cole Warren.
Yeah, he's the catalyst for these guys, just being able to make plays. And, I mean, they ate that. I think Cornette was he's coming off over here to the sideline. I think Cornette was the one that ate that tackle, but they bit hard on that fake, and so Warren was able to roll out to the left. That's 2 plays in a row that they've built up that running attack so that then they could switch away from it, use that play action, and make some plays with Cole Warren.
2 receivers on right. Man behind Warren as he scrambles around in the pocket again. Being chased by the defense, not able to get a pass out. He tosses it quickly, intended for his tight end Jack James, and unable to get it to him. It was good by him to toss it at the last second there, and no intentional grounding called since it was in the area of the receiver. It was a good pass by Cole Warren, intended for him to prevent intentional grounding, but unfortunately that'll bring it to second down here.
Yeah, and they were able to get that pressure on Warren there. I mean, the more that they focus on him and shutting him down, like you said, there was a reason that last year the Knights didn't do as well with him out. He's just such a playmaker, and even as a sophomore, he was able to make plays and have a great season. So, really good player for the Knights.
Handoff by Warren to 22. That's Kanan Dickerson, who's off to the races and stopped there by 15. Kanan White in on defense, actually, just making some stops not only as a quarterback but as a defensive player. But that was a great run by Caden Dickerson.
Dickerson channeling his older brother Logan, who I got the opportunity to play against on those early Classical teams. He was running back when they were winning all those titles, and I guess it must be in the genes because that's a good run here. Run again. And
there's Dickerson again as he gets a few yards. Again. Department of Redundancy Department. So Dickerson managed to get a good run there to about the 34-yard line as the timeout's called to be second and 4. Only 26 seconds left in the first quarter as the Heat call a timeout here.
Really close ball game. I mean, it's only 6-0, and the Heat, it seems like they've been able to adjust to what Classical's doing. At Classical, it's not that they're doing anything wrong, but they've got to be able to spread the ball out to some of these seniors. Some of these seniors got to have to step up. Guys like Jack James, who's been able to catch some passes, Josh Sperry, Josh Pace, Ray Harlow, some of these guys have to be able to step up and start making some plays on offense and taking a little bit of that pressure off Cole Warren.
And as we said, Cole Warren having his leg broken last year, which ended his season effectively, and the Knights unfortunately went into that slump and had to play an out of playoff game against Hendersonville, who was co-opted with the Heat. So now that they picked up a little bit, they're 1-0 right now, looking to be 2-0.
Those last 2 runs by Dickerson, it was good to see that because he's the guy that went down on that far sideline earlier in the quarter. So good to see he's back up and going and running full speed.
Again, now out of the shadow of his older brother as Dickerson takes the run again. Actually, that's not Dickerson. That's Eli Cornett. It looks like it was another 2 there, but Cornett getting a good run there, and they will move the chains for a first down.
Good carry by the freshman. He's been able to step up. He's got the only touchdown in the ball game so far. So good play, good run there. And, he's still on the field, so we'll see what happens.
And Ed Suey Field is certainly home to a good competition tonight. It's the actual home stadium of the Mount Juliet Christian Academy Saints. And here's Warren again, hands it off to Cornett, going through the middle, and the defense quick to react there. That looks like Redding getting the tackle there at the end of the first quarter. 6-0. The Knights leading over the Heat. You're watching the Extreme Game of the Week, Part 3, part of the Extreme Sports Network.
Eli Cornett.
So back for the start of the second quarter as Warren hands it off to Eli Cornett again, and he's off for the touchdown.
I bet you the Heat wish that quarter break wouldn't have come right then because they lost a lot of momentum. And Cornett able to punch it in, second touchdown of the game.
So the Knights now up 12-0, have the opportunity to make it 14-0. I don't think the Heat have anybody up their sleeve that could kick some field goals, but it's possible they wouldn't even need to make a two-point conversion to tie it up. That's, of course, dependent on this two-point conversion attempt. Here's Warren again with his left Cornett as no pass going to happen here for Warren, and he's going to fall short of the end zone. 12-0, 11:54 left to go in the second quarter.
Tackle by number 14, Brandon Goolsby. Conversion no good.
Now, for those of you who don't have your volume turned down on the broadcast here, thank you for tuning into today's Extreme Game of the Week, Part 3. Spencer Thompson and James Shannon on the call here from Mount Juliet at Ed Suey Field. Mount Juliet. Whatever name you pronounce it, it's a regional thing.
It's like Louisville and Louisville and Louisville.
It's Louisville or Lowell.
It's Louisville.
I know that the locals pronounce it Lowell. It's just like it's.
I had a best friend growing up.
It's the same thing as if you're saying brewery and then there's brewery.
The fewer vowels you can have in something, the better. Brewery.
Hey, one of my relatives lives up the town that I will not name in my pronunciation. They pronounce it Louisville.
I'm sorry.
So no, I'm sorry for it. All right, so there's a kickoff by Ray Harlow, and the Heat miss it, and the Knights get it again.
Man,
Jaden Frazier.
You would think they would be able to get this under control. Clint Collins had a kickoff return for a touchdown against the Heat. They got to get this under control. This is ridiculous. That's 2 kickoffs they've given up, and that's the mistakes that And honestly, that kickoff they gave up that led to the first touchdown. So you take that away, and it's a 6-0 ball game.
you look at that as well, it reminds me of the Madisonville-Hendersonville game where both teams essentially all the time onside kicked it, and the team who onside kicked it got it 90% of the time. They onside kicked it. So it's just a reminder a little bit of this game, except it's a one-sided onside kick scenario because the Heat have not kicked it off yet. Actually, they have not kicked it off yet. They will be guaranteed to kick it off at the start of the third quarter. But the Knights back on offense as Warren fakes the handoff, dodges a tackle there, goes on the right side. Warren loose, trying to avoid a tackle, gets brought down at the 15-yard line. And Cole Warren just showing his dominance on the field.
That was a textbook example of how 8-man coaches teach their defensive ends to play. If you saw that defensive end on the far side got sucked into the play and Cole Warren was able to roll around him and get to the outside and make something out of that. Coaches teach your defensive ends for the majority of the time you're going to contain. You can shoot in a little bit, but you have to keep that play inside, whether it be the running back or the quarterback. And he didn't do that, and there you go, giving up a big play.
So it's now 1st and 10 on the 15-yard line for the Knights, looking to score again as a run up the middle by Cornett. Takes a long time for him to be brought down by Ryan Scott, and he got a gain of 5 yards on the play.
Tackle by number 2.
2nd and 5.
Carry by number 2, Eli Cornett. Gain of about 5 on the play.
So Eli Cornett, the freshman, getting the handoff from the senior. It's a little bit symbolic of what Warren will be doing in May when he graduates, giving a little handoff to the underclassmen, as every senior class does for their underclassmen. As Warren pitches it out to Cornett. Cornett, open field, and plows his way into the end zone. Touchdown!
Cornett showing up, the freshman, and it's like I said about that first touchdown. You take these kickoffs away that the Heat have messed up, and it's a 6-0 ball game. It's all about mistakes. If you can keep your mistakes down, you could have a close ball game, and you can have a close ball game. But I don't care who you are. You know, if Classical was making the mistakes that the Heat are, the Heat would be in the lead. 18-0. So it's all about keeping those mistakes to a minimum.
Unfortunately, those mistakes have not been kept to a minimum for the Heat, as it's now 18-0 and not even halfway through the second quarter. So the Knights will try a 2-point conversion here. It's handed off, and not enough room for Dickerson to get to the goal line.
2-point conversions.
So no 2-point conversions have been made by the Classical Knights, which is good for the Heat because they're at least stopping them in some regard, but not able to stop them with their touchdowns. 10:39 left to go in the second quarter, 18-0. The Knights leading over the Heat. Back live in Mount Juliet. Kickoff. Ray Harlow kicking off again for the Knights. He's kicked off there and caught instantly by the Heat's Ryan Scott, and he's weaving through, avoiding a tackle, gets brought down just short of the 45-yard line. And they spot it there at the 40, in between the 43 and 44-yard line, actually. Ryan Scott getting a good return, and the Heat not failing to recover the ball on a kickoff.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll be down there. We'll be down there for that game. You guys in Riverside. I'll have Spencer and Trent will be down there for that one.
So here's 1st and 10 here for the Heat in the I formation. White pitches it out to his backside to James Redding, going on the right side, and he's brought down. Flags thrown. Tackled down by Eli Cornett. And there are going to be flags here
Tackled by number 2.
So James just stepping back here, had to have an important business phone call here. So James, you missed it, but the Heat actually caught it. He caught the ball. Ryan Scott took it up to the 43-yard line as a holding is called on the offense, and this will bring it back 10 yards. It'll be repeat first down. But Ryan Scott actually caught the ball in midair with the kickoff. We don't have that.
He's the third.
We don't have that on the roster, so we'll just call him Ryan Scott. Anyways, so 1st and 20 here after the holding penalty. So Ryan Scott came back to the 43, 44-yard line, made a good run with catching the ball. And then, of course, that holding penalty for a 1st and 20 with White. It's a man to his left as White looking for the pass, toss it across. That's caught by Clint Collins, avoiding a tackle there, and he's pushed back. Forward progress call at about the 36-yard line. So it'll be 2nd down. I believe they'll call that about 2nd down and 16.
Penalty markers on the play.
So 2nd down and 16 here.
Unsportsmanlike conduct penalty against the Heat.
Ooh, it looks like the Heat were called there for an unsportsmanlike conduct.
The 1st down and long.
It was just a little
heat of the moment. It fires up.
No pun intended, of course.
Wait. Oh,
yeah, you just made a pun. my Punderdome is running off. The
guy that's not a dad is making the dad jokes.
So now second and more than 20 as Kanan White scrambling around in the middle. Ooh, tackled from behind by Ernie McKinnon. It's a big tackle there for the Knights as it goes to 3rd down and still more than 20.
Tackle by number 35.
I'd say about 3rd down and about a third of the field.
15, Kanan White.
They got about a third of the field.
3rd down and more than 20.
Instead of a 10th of the field, it's like a third of the field.
No, instead of a 10th, it's an 11th, right? You know, it's not like it's a minor difference.
Matter of fact, yeah, it's 3rd and 30.
Yes, it looks like about 3rd and 30.
That's what I just said.
That's why I said it does look about that, even though the original 1st down marker was at the 45, 46-yard line.
Confirming my assumption there.
Yeah. So here's Kanan White trying to gain back all those yards lost to penalties. Deep pass on the right side, and that is incomplete. Overthrown intended for Goolsby. So it'll be 4th down. The Heat will punt it away.
Looked like a miscommunication on the route there. Possible a little bit of pass interference one way or either way, but just a miscommunication on the route. But I'll tell you, Kanan White could straight up fire that ball. When he gets that momentum going, plants his feet, and is able to throw it downfield, he could throw some strikes. So I'm surprised they haven't put Clint Collins on one side, Ryan Scott on the other, and just turn them loose on go routes and just try to fire it bombs away. I'm surprised they haven't done that yet. We may get to that point before halftime.
So, yeah, at halftime, 8 minutes and 49 seconds away, the Heat will punt it to the Knights. Just a high punt and short as it goes there to the bounces back a little bit. We get that on the 39-yard line is where they'll spot it, or actually on the 40-yard line. That just
first down,
the tail of the football treading against the 40-yard line marker. So the Knights are in Heat territory, leading by 3 touchdowns exactly. First and 10, Warren back, and he hands it off to Dickerson. Gets to the 36-yard line. It's about 2nd down and 5.
Tackle by number 22, Trey Rury for the Heat. Gain of about 4 on the play, 2nd and 6.
Warren with a man to his right. 2 receivers on right. Here's Warren. Fakes the pitch, going on the right side, avoiding some tackles there. Slips and lands at the 28-yard line. So Cole Warren just having a little bit of a slip up there. Even the greatest of minds make the simplest of mistakes.
That was a little bit of a rainbow snap there. Just kind of took its time getting back to him, but he's able to make a play out of that. So they got to get that snap up under control. It can't be looking like they're just tossing the baseball in the backyard. You know, it's got to be a fastball back to the quarterback, but you know, one where he can catch it and make a play out of it.
And the Heat call a timeout here with 8 minutes left to go in the second quarter. Still 18-0. The Knights taking a dominant lead over the Heat so far. So 1st and 10 here for Franklin Classical on the 28-yard line. And here's Warren again. Quick toss out on the left side to his tight end. That's Jack James going on the left side. Gets dragged down by Caden White. And that's to about the 22-yard line.
Number 15.
So about second down and 4.
Senior Jack James stepping up into the play, and he was the guy that missed the ball in the back of the end zone last week at Riverside and got lost in some weeds, fell down. He was down for a minute, but got back in the ball game. But nice catch there, nice catch and run. And I mean, a lot of these seniors have been together for 4 years, so it's kind of special for them.
A lot of good chemistry with all the players on the Knights who've been around each other for several years as Warren hands it off to Cornett, who's going up the middle. Brought down by Justin Goolsby at the 10-yard line, so they're going to mark it 1st and goal. And the Knights looking to get another score here.
Yeah, that'd be pretty rough to come back from. It'd be a 24-0 ball game, 26-0 with the extra point or the 2-point conversion. So it'd be pretty rough to come back from. If you're the Heat, you've got to make a stop here.
Of course, if you're the Knights, you'll do what Christian Community did on Friday night or last night and get it up to 35 so they could keep the clock running and get out of here at a decent hour. As Warren rushes up the middle, avoids the tackle. Great spin move by Cole Warren into the end zone, but touchdown!
They're going to call him in.
They called him in on that one. It looked like the Heat were just keeping him out of the end zone there, but he spun around and the referee rules the ball broke the plane of the goal line.
Great run there by Warren, making something out of that play. And I mean, they're going to go up 24-0. Still almost 7 minutes to go before halftime. And I mean, if you're the Heat, they've made mental mistakes. They've made plays, and they're physical. They can do stuff, but it's just little mental mistakes they're making that they've got to clean up. And they've got no seniors on this team, so that does give them a little bit of something to look forward to.
And Warren scrambling around looking for the pass there, and he stopped, so the 2-point conversion is no good. 24-0, the Knights leading over the Heat with 6:46 left to go before halftime.
Quarterback sack number 4.
Ray Harlow giving the kickoff here for the Knights, and a missed kick there, and running down the sideline is one of the Knights picked up. Looked like there could have been a penalty called there. called there as Cole Warren. Well, Cole Warren shoved Clint Collins from the back as he was running down the field, so it could have been a penalty call there, but referee didn't see anything uncalled for there. Though one of the officials is talking with one of the Heat players on the sideline there. He's talking to Ryan Scott. So it looks like we may or may not see another player ejected from this game. Well, not another.
We haven't had a player.
When I say another player, we may see another player ejected in only the third week of MTAC play. And hopefully we won't have to see that, and we hope that the players all keep their composure as they're going in through the rest of this game as well as the rest of the season. Let's see what the Heat can do on this drive. First down on the 25-yard line. Here's White, deep pass on the right side intended for Ryan Scott, overthrown the 50-yard line. It looked like Ryan Scott could have made a quick rush there to catch it. Unfortunately, just good coverage by the Knights.
I told you I wouldn't be surprised if they start letting Kane and White loose and let him start bombing to Ryan Scott and Clint Collins. Those two guys, really good receivers, and so, you know, and White's got an arm. I mean, at this point, you got to start bombing away. You got to try to get some momentum back, as the momentum is with the Knights right now. They've got all the momentum with them.
So it's 2nd down and 10 here for the Heat. The Knights so far keeping their defensive wall up and not letting a single score throughout this game, as Kanan White scrambling the middle, pass across the middle. It is caught by Clint Collins at the 50-yard line, brought down by Jaden Frazier. Excuse me, the 45-yard line. Too used to being on that midfield at the 80-yard field.
This press box is off center, like the center of the press box is at the 40-yard line. So.
But that was a good gain, by Clint Collins to get that reception there.
And just like Cole Warren is the kind of the catalyst for Classical, Clint Collins the catalyst for the Heat. If he can get hot, pardon the pun, and get up and running, then you know, they're gonna catch fire.
Just hope you don't see catch fire. There's another pun there. James. So this is 8-man, the extreme game of the week, and comedy 3 hours. Here's White scrambling out on the right, a low toss intended, and no flags on there. It looked like it could have been a late hit. It was intended for Ryan Scott. So it's now 2nd and 10 here. So 2 receivers on left and right. Kanan White alone in the shotgun. Here's Kanan White on 2nd and 10. Scrambles through the middle, going to the left side. 1st down and more. Kanan White avoiding several tackles, and Kanan White in for the touchdown. That may be the spark the Heat need to drive through the rest of this game, but Kanan White finding the opening. Touchdown, Tennessee Heat.
Kanan White running like his pants were on fire, and down there getting the Heat on the board. That may be what they need to get the momentum going and get rolling.
It's a good score for the former Middle Tennessee Heat. I keep rooting back to Middle Tennessee Heat, but they've changed since then. They're the Tennessee Heat. They're attempting the 2-point conversion in just a few moments, but that was a good score by by Kanan White. So the same formation as last time. 2 receivers on left, 2 on right. No person on either of this team has tried a field goal. But likely that will not be the case. Here's the toss, is almost intercepted by number 2, Eli Cornett of the Knights. Regardless, this isn't the NFL where you could catch the ball and return it for 2 points yourself. So with that, it's 24-6 with 5:44 left to go before the end of the first half. The Knights leading over the Heat.
And we're going to see the first kickoff for the Heat. They have not kicked off all ball game. Now, it is interesting to know Classical gets the ball after halftime, so we'll see what happens with that. But we'll get to see the Heat's first kickoff. I believe Micah DeGrue does their kickoff, so it'll be interesting to see if they decide to kick it deep and see what kind of return game Classical has, or if they decide to go onside or maybe just squib it and try to make a play happen.
With the high lead, of course, that the Knights have, you would, as a coach, you have to look and see, do I try an onside kick here and risk them scoring again before halftime, or do I just boot it back and trust in my defense to make a stop here? It's a very interesting decision for Ryan Scott and Jimbo Savely to try and process as they go through this. We'll see what decision they have made. They've made the choice of just booting it deep, and it goes to about the 25-yard line. It's picked up by Frazier, so he goes to the left side and gets tackled down by Ryan Scott at the 24-yard line.
Yeah, they're going to make Classical go the distance if they want to score, and 5:39 left here in the second quarter, first half. We'll see if Classical decides to try to go for another score, just kind of slow the game down a little bit, run the ball. I mean, they've done all right running the football. That's for sure. So, the Heat, they have an opportunity if they – the Classical doesn't have a great punter. So if they can make a stop, then they could try to get the ball potentially in Classical territory.
We'll see if the Knights are forced to punt. As Warren looking on the left side, toss deep intended for Frazier, and it is caught! Frazier running off, no flags, touchdown, Franklin Classical.
Oh, come on!
But a flag at the last second, a little bit of steaming one up by Collins and Frazier. I believe they did rule that a touchdown. The flag may have been thrown before he broke the plane of the goal line.
Well, no, it was in the back because you can see he got in the end zone and Clint shoved him from behind almost into the goalpost. He chased him down. The frustration was there. Huge miscommunication by the defensive backs there for the Heat. I mean, it was like they were playing the short pass. And yeah, you don't want your guy to, you want us to keep the guy in front of you, but at the same time, great job by Frazier to pop out from behind that. And we were wide open, just a 40-yard sprint. We should have timed it to see what his 40 time was.
Yeah, Frazier and Collins both being talked to by their coaches on the sideline. Of course, their emphasis for sure is to make sure that neither of them get ejected from this game. And we'll see what the official calls here with the flag. The touchdown is good, and it's after the play is an unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense. And he has been ejected. So from the defense, Clint Collins is out for the game, and with MTAC rules, he's done for the next game as well because they're in conference.
And the Heat have South Haven next week. That's a huge development right there.
So Clint Collins will be out as the two-point conversion is good for Cole Warren. And another flag.
I bet you Warren could get a look here because he was in and then he just straight up plowed his guy, and it might go against the Heat too. But that frustration starting to play into it.
Well, let's see what the official says here. He says the two-point conversion is no good. So after the play, a personal foul on the offense, and so the two-point conversion, the penalty was declined, and because of that, with the two-point conversion being no good, it just goes to kickoff. I thought the two-point conversion was good, though. Didn't it look like Cole Warren broke the plane of the goal line?
They may have ruled it no good because of the penalty. That may have factored into it, but now it's a 36-ball game, 5:25 to go in the first half.
Of course, the referee talking to the coach here to give the explanation of what it was. It's interesting because you would figure the penalty looked like it was after the play, so wondering why they would void the two-point conversion and not just count it on the kickoff. But, of course, with that, the referee explaining it to the coach, and they'll fully figure it out as they go through the rest of the game. As it's now 30-6 with 5:25 left to go in the second quarter. The Knights now kicking it off, and I'm sure both coaches will be talking to their players extremely about keeping their cool and focusing fully on keeping sportsmanship because the tension's coming high here in Ed Suey Field.
Yeah, and that just adds to the rivalry and having bad blood between the two teams. But it's something you want on one hand, but on the other hand, you don't want it. And so you have to keep those emotions in check, because that can come back to haunt you, and that can come back to bite you in the butt. So you have to be able to control it. Coach Witherington having a little conversation there with the head official, trying to sort everything out. So get the kickoff as soon as that's over.
Shout out to Jonathan Thompson. One of our colleagues, I believe the term would be for him. So he does the Tennessee 8-Man Weekly podcast every week. He does the same as we do with, covering 8-man football around Tennessee. He's been at the game longer than we have, so shout out to him. And because messaging us claiming that this is the best broadcast we've had all season. Really appreciate that, John. So that's picked up by Goolsby.
He probably hasn't been called John since his mama.
Or it may have been the reverse way. He just hasn't been called John at all. Who knows? So the 27-yard line is where the ball will be spot for the Heat. They have 5 minutes 20 seconds left to work with, which a lot of time for them to go with and get a.
The Heat taking the field for offense without Clint Collins. It's a shot. That's taking a shot, and you could argue that something needs to be done to Cole Warren for his play there at the end. But we'll see what happens. It could get heated before the end of the game.
I know it's hard to not make puns with the mascot like the Heat, James, but of course, and ball tipped up and flag thrown. The ball was tipped up by Jack James, and flag was thrown in the backfield. It looked like the official going to give the call here as soon as he's done with his discussion with the side judge.
Penalty marker on the play.
We're just waiting on the referee to give his ruling here. It's a holding call on the offense, so that'll move back a repeat.
Holding penalty on the Heat.
And they will repeat first down.
10-yard penalty, still first down.
And that's an interesting thing to see as a coach. Do you take the 10-yard penalty, or do you let it just go to second down because of that incomplete pass?
I would take the penalty and go back to first down and give you another shot. I mean, you can make up 10 yards in one play. You can make more than 10 yards in one play, but downs is something you can't get back as easy.
Here's White with a man to his left, going back in the pocket, tosses it over, and it is caught. That is 24 of the Heat going down the sideline, and he is forced out of bounds by Frazier. That was 24. James Redding, the junior, getting a big play for the Tennessee Heat. That's a first down and 10. They'll spot this on the 42-yard line.
Good job on that screen pass by White. He just baited him, dropped back, and was able to dump it off. Linemen made their blocks that they needed to. Didn't go downfield, didn't get that illegal man downfield. And so a well-executed screen pass there. That's one of the hardest things to do about a screen is to not get that illegal man downfield. And so when you can execute that and not let that happen, it's a definite plus.
So the Heat marching down the field, looking to get another score here. One receiver on left and right with motion on the play from Brandon Goolsby. The ball's pitched out to number 11. That's Sam Willis going on the left side, collides with another Knight. Gets to about the 42-yard line, a gain of 1 on the play, second down.
Yeah, the good pitch, a nice pitch out there by, you said that was Wills, and another 8th grader on the roster there, making plays there out wide, and a loss of 1 on the play, but a little bit now that he's got those jitters out, he can start trying to make some plays for the Heat here.
And as you said, the one thing the Heat have to look forward to in the coming years is they have a young team. No seniors well, actually, they do have Ryan Scott listed down here as a senior, so they at least have one who's sort of the leader of the team. But they have a lot of young players, a lot of sophomores, freshmen, and 8th graders, so they'll be able to build a football program going into the next few years. It's Kanan White looking on the left side, can't do it, and he's brought down by several Knights.
Tackle on the play, number 35, Ernie McKinnon for the Knights.
So the ball placed on in between the 42,
Third and 9.
more towards the 42-yard line. It's third down and it looks like about third down and 9, maybe third down and 10. The ball hardly
Marked
moving.
about third and 10. Third and 9.5.
Or if you want to get really exact, third and 9.5. And James saying here, bring out the chains, but the chains only break me. Horrible song reference there. Sorry to you 6 viewers. I'm not going to apologize to James, though, because he's making so many Heat puns tonight. It's White with a man to the right of him. Scrambles around looking for the pass. Can't toss it out. Avoids a tackle there. Avoiding another one. Just no one for him to pass to as he's brought down behind the line of scrimmage at the 41-yard line. So it'll be fourth down and officially 10 now. Maybe fourth down and 11.
That was not how that play was designed, because you saw Sam Ellis up the middle. He just shot straight past the center for the Heat, Elijah Diaz, and he's got to be able to step over and make that block. I mean, they're going head up, and so it's just all you got to do is read your guy, especially if it's a passing play. I mean, that's just some of the easiest plays to block as a lineman. It's just punch and drop back and buy your quarterback time. So you got to be able to make that block.
So now fourth down and 11. Ball placed in between the 40 and 41-yard line. Now, it doesn't look like the Heat will punt it away unless their quarterback, Kanan White, will do a light punt. But in case they do, they have Frazier in the back. The Knights have Frazier in the backfield, and they will not punt it away. Big rush and avoided by Kanan White, and he's not going to pass it. And Kanan White brought down by 13 of the Knights, Ray Harlow, the senior. So the Knights will take over with good field advantage on the 38-yard line of the Heat.
Yeah, and again, that nose tackle just shot straight in there. Sam Ellis, he just shot straight in there and put that pressure on White and made it to where he had to tuck. That was a design pass play, and he made it to where he had to tuck the ball and go. And so just another example, you got to be able to make those blocks.
The Knights trying to get another score on the board. They have a minute 49 seconds to work with, so about maybe 5 or 6 plays. As Warren scrambling around, gets through the middle and tries to toss it. He tosses it out of bounds, but the flag is thrown. It looked like he was not out. Looks like he was outside of the line of scrimmage maybe on that, so they called it a forward lateral. Or actually, they're probably going to call this, they'd have intentional grounding on Cole Warren, so that's a loss of a down and a 15-yard penalty. That's just an unfortunate. You have to make some decisions in the moment, but that really was blatantly intentional grounding.
And I don't know if that's his friends over here on the side where he threw the football, but it almost hit one of them. So a little moment there, but yeah, I mean you got to make better. He was in the pocket. You can't throw that ball away.
You can throw it away in some instances, but not to directly avoid a sack or a tackle there. You have to throw it to someone forward at least so you can somewhat passes. In non-intentional grounding as a rush here by Cornett going up the middle. He gets to the 30-yard line, just shy of the first down marker. It's third down, though, even though they lost it first down. So a timeout for the Knights here on the 30-yard line. 1:34 left to go before halftime, 30-6, the Knights. So after the timeout called by the Knights, it is 3rd down and 2. And it looks like a movement. They will call this a offsides on the defense. So 1st down. A lucky break for the Knights, and 1st down and 10 here. That'll move the chains.
5-yard penalty.
Just mental discipline. You got to have it. You got to have it to avoid plays like that. But Classical, if they could put a touchdown here on the board, they'll get even closer to that running clock.
Here's handed off, tripped up in the backfield. Caden Dickerson not able to go anywhere. The defensive line just plowing through and making up for their mistake there.
47, Micah DeGrood.
So that's now 2nd down and 12.
2 on the play. 2nd and 12.
So just a reminder, at halftime we will give a brief analysis of what we've seen, as well as what we look forward to in the second half of this game. So be sure to stay on broadcast for that, as Cole Warren scrambles to the right side. Good pass caught by the tight end, 82, Jack James, brought down at the 11-yard line. They stop the clock to spot it, but it'll be 1st down and 10. Not quite 1st and goal, but a good gain there. Good pass by Cole Warren, good catch by Jack James.
Pass completed to number
Warren able to roll outside and make a play on that and find that open receiver. Good job there between the seniors.
2 receivers on left for Franklin Classical. None of the Heat players defending them. And it looks like the ball tossed over to one that's Jaden Frazier into the end zone for a touchdown. And now the clock will not run yet because it is a 30-point lead, not 35. But you could see the mistake that the Heat made there. They covered one of the receivers on the left side, but they did not cover Jaden Frazier.
It's like that touchdown. I don't know how you're leaving Frazier open after that 40-yard, the 40-yard mistake you made there earlier for the touchdown for Frazier. I mean, I don't know how you're leaving him wide open, but let alone any receiver. You can't just guard one. And part of that goes back to losing 3rd-year player Clint Collins being ejected. He brings a little bit of that knowledge and that leadership to that defensive back core.
So it's a 30-point lead, can be 32, but the clock will not run.
They can't get those 2-point conversions.
No 2-point conversions have been made this entire half by the Franklin Classical School Knights. And you can see that by the results of a 36-6 lead. So only one more touchdown and no score by the Heat will get this clock running and the game done sooner.
At halftime, don't forget to stop by our concession stand and get you a hot dog, hamburger, some cold drinks. They'd love to see you over there.
Broadcasting rights? Complimentary? Hey, is that complimentary for us guys up here?
Check.
I have no idea. I'm not in charge of that.
Oh.
I'm not in charge of giving away.
Do you know the person who is? I said, do you know the person who is?
It would be Ryan Scott, and you don't want to talk to him.
Not right now.
Getting killed right now.
Hey, you offered to give me a free hat, so maybe.
So the Knights kicking off. 27 seconds left in the first half. Is kicked off and caught by the Heat. It's caught by Ryan Scott going across the right side, trying to avoid his slips there. Brought down by Cole Warren. It's only 20 seconds left for the Heat to try something here.
For the Knights. Kickoff return by number 2, Ryan Scott.
Cole Warren a little bit slow to get up there, just walking back to the sideline. Should be fine there, just a little bit shaken up. The receiver, it's 2 receivers on left and right. Could be a Hail Mary play here. Last desperation for the Heat at the end of the first half. So ball snapped, and it is a Hail Mary deep toss intended for Ryan Scott. Is way overthrown, incomplete. So 15 seconds left for the Heat on 2nd and 10.
I've got a drink. Please. Ketchup. Pushing those down. Anything they got.
Only 15 seconds left. It looks like they'll try another Hail Mary here. Maybe we'll see an Aaron Rodgers-like play, even though that was at the end of the game for them to win. But it's a fake run here by Caden White going on the left side, trying to avoid a tackle. Gets brought down at the 49-yard line. The clock will still run, and they call a timeout here with 3 seconds left. They call time just so that they can spot the ball. I do not believe either team has timeouts yet.
But, I mean, the Heat can still
First down carry to number 15, Caden White.
Snap it as soon as they're told they can.
And they will just let it run down. 36-6 the score at the end of the first half. The Knights dominating the Heat in this extreme game of the week. We're going to flip around the camera here for our halftime analysis. Everybody, Spencer Thompson and James Shannon here at I believe it's called Ed Suey Field here in Mount Juliet, as Mr.
Not Chop Suey.
Chop Suey. Wake up. Anyways, 36-6 the score at the end of the first half. Not the score we'd want to see. You never want to see a blowout game on any broadcast or any non-broadcast. You don't like to see blowouts, but I mean, you mentioned there were mental mistakes that the Heat were making, but what else are they making here in this game?
You know, it's not just it's mainly just mental. I mean, they can make the plays. They've made stops. They've stopped the running game. They've made mistakes with the passing game, but even those were mental. The ejection, the unsportsmanlike conduct, that was mental. I mean, it's all just mental mistakes, and that's part of having a young team and having a team that's slightly inexperienced and doesn't have any seniors on the team. But you know, those are just things they got to clean up, and some of that will come with time and age. Because you've seen from Classical, they haven't had as many penalties. They haven't made as many mental mistakes. They made a few, but they have not made as many. They've been very clear-headed, and they've been able to make the plays that they need and do the things that they've needed to do to get this 36-6 lead. So the Heat and Ryan Scott, they'll go off to the end zone for about the next 8 minutes. And they'll talk about it and try to get a game plan together. They're going to have to do it without Clint Collins. But, you know, we'll see what happens second half. We're in for a good ball game either way.
Mm-hmm. The Knights, of course, keeping their dominant lead. The only thing I'm sure that Coach Witherington will say to them throughout that is just keep doing what you're doing. Keep it solid.
All you can do. Just keep doing what you're doing. Maybe clean up a few of the mental mistakes that they've made. They haven't made that many, but there's just been a couple here.
And especially tell Cole Warren and the rest of the team to keep sportsmanship. That'll be on both end zones.
You got to stay calm, and you know, I mean, there's just tiny things that, of course, the coach is going to point out. Even if you're winning by 30, the center's got to get his snaps better. I mean, he's rainbowing them, he's arching them, and you've got to be able to get that up and going. You know, the receivers, you've had some drops. Running backs, the linemen haven't made their blocks on some of the plays. So, you know, they got to be able to make those blocks and make every run be productive, not just a couple of them.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, is the second half for this game. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Halftime, it will be over in about 7.5 minutes. So we will be back for the second half here from Mount Juliet.
Miracle.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. Our iPhone fell from the press box, but has not a single scratch on it. It is my own personal iPhone, too, so that was a miracle. What you did miss, unfortunately, a touchdown return by the Franklin Classical School Knights and a 2-point conversion made. So
Conversion is good.
The clock will run down now for the mercy rule.
Shout out to the Whites, Caden White's grandparents in West Virginia. Shout out, appreciate y'all watching the broadcast tonight.
Now, James, you were up here while I was hoping that my iPhone was not damaged or anything from falling however many feet and sliding off. Tell me.
About 20 feet.
Not 20 feet. And they've improved because there's not a single crack on my iPhone that I noticed.
They finally caught up to Android.
Yeah. So tell me, what did we see on the return here?
Man, Frazier was able to break it to the outside, hit that sideline, and just take off. Really good return there for Franklin Classical, and that will get that running clock up and going. And so we may be home in time for a decent bedtime for church tomorrow. Maybe about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Either that or, James and I may have one of our late night Taco Bell runs. Who knows? Once I put that in his mind, he's set. He's set. All right, so that ball is going to be caught down there, and they're saying, the official is saying, let the clock run. So the mercy rule fully enacted here. And now it is Heat's ball. We'll see if they can do anything. So first down and 10 here, handed off and going up the middle. It's a good drive there, and number 24, the Heat, still rushing. The mercy rule will stop with the touchdown by James Redding. The Heat may still be in it.
First play of the second half for the Heat. First play from scrimmage, and they take it to the house. That was like a 65-yard run, 70-yard run.
It's a 75-yard touchdown for James Redding, around 70-75.
And Classical, they don't really have backups or second stringers. Everybody kind of rotates, cycles in. So that happened against guys that are their starters. So just a really good play there from Redding. He's going to go off and suck some oxygen.
So it's a 34-point lead now for the Knights of Franklin Classical. So the mercy rule not active right now, but it could be active again if the Knights get another touchdown. But the game doesn't look like it's over as of now. The Heat may be making a comeback.
Yeah, I don't know what Ryan Scott said. A kickoff return, obviously not something you want, but we'll see what happens.
The I formation here for the Heat, and it is a rush on the left side. And that is good. Kanan White gets the 2-point conversion. And with 10:31 left in the third quarter, 46-14, the Knights lead the Heat in the third extreme game of the week. The kickoff here for the Heat, only their third kickoff of the game because of the amount of touchdowns the Knights have received, and they will try an onside kick safely here. That's easily picked up by Jack James. So the Knights will take possession on the 47-yard line. Excuse me, the 46-yard line is where they spot it. So the Knights back on offense. We'll see what Cole Warren can do for his team. Here's 1st and 10. There's a handoff to Eli Cornett, who got maybe a yard on the play, so 2nd down and 9. And there's an injured player on the field for the Middle Tennessee Heat. Former Tennessee Heat. A little bit slow to get up. He's still walking. That's 47 slow to get up. Micah DeGrood, the junior.
Short gain on the play.
It's a little slow to get up, and it looks like he will still play. 2nd and 9. A man behind. So man behind, and there goes Cole Warren, rushed by the defense. So a loss of about 2 yards on the play, 3rd and 11.
Yeah, and Classical may be tapping the brakes a little bit, but it looks like the Heat they've come out with a little more passion, a little more a little more fire in their step, and so we'll see what happens. Like I said, you don't want that kickoff return, but I mean they've got a 3rd and 13. They make a stop next two downs, and I mean you make it a 46, maybe 46-20 ball game. Get a little bit closer.
So now about 3rd and 13 as Warren looks for the pass in the middle. Deep pass intended for Frazier. Overthrown. Looks like Frazier may have been able, if he had a little bit more, if he were a step sooner, he could have gone for the catch on that.
Brings up a 4th down and 12.
So the ball loose, and after the punt, it is tapped by Jack James. All right, we should be back live now. We noticed somebody said that the video was a little bit off after the phone had been dropped. Just let us know still. We've restarted the broadcast and we've reset the broadcast now. It should be fine, but just be sure to let us know if broadcast is working or not, because of course we don't want to have only audio and no video broadcasting for you guys. We saw one comment there. So hopefully we should be good to go now. So here is Kanan White with a deep pass on the left side, almost intercepted by Eli Cornett on the cornerback, and it looks like a flag may have been thrown there. Actually, no flag thrown. It was one of the coaches from Franklin Classical asking for a pass interference flag to be thrown.
Only audio or only video? You got only audio right now. We've been told.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it turns out we only have audio here. So what we are going to do is wait until we get to a stoppage here, either a timeout or a change in between drive, and then we will start a new stream so that you can at least hear it and not miss any more action than you already did in the beginning. We apologize for the issues there. Just the clip not working a little bit for the smartphone camera as a run by the Heat. Big hit by number 1, Jaden Frazier. Someone gave, not sure what the thumbs up meant there in the comments, but
carry by number 11, Sam Willis.
Have you got it now? Have you got it?
So it's now 3rd down and 5 here for the Heat.
Gain of about 4 on the play.
It's a gain of 4. That was a big stop by Jaden Frazier. I think restarting it should be fine. So 2 receivers on the right. All snapped. Here's White. Passes it quick, incomplete. Intended for Sam Willis, the 8th grader.
Pass incomplete. Pass was
So 4th down and 5. The Heat likely to punt it away here.
And 6.
He's saying he's only getting audio, but I don't know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after this punt occurs here, we will stop the stream. Be sure to be subscribed to our YouTube channel. You'll be notified when we go back live for the next link. We apologize for that unfortunate, sudden cut of the video. As long as you can hear us, that's the important thing. You at least have some way of hearing the action. But James, you look at some of the big hits that have happened here so far on this drive and such. I mean, you mentioned the Heat have more momentum. Does it look like they still have the more kind of drive and passion?
Yeah, and you know, at this point, it's where that senior leadership comes in for Classical. You know, just to be able to finish out the game. That's the biggest thing. You just got to finish out the game. And if you're the Heat, this is a big proving ground here. Big run by White.
Here's White all the way down to the 30. They faked the punt attempt there. It's Kanan White weaving through the defense and getting brought down at about the 29 yard line in Knights territory. So the Heat still wanting to get a good score here and still in this game saying to Franklin Classical, no, we are not going down without a fight.
Yeah, a great play there by White, and you know, if you're Classical, you're definitely going to be a little more careful now when you assume that they're going to punt the ball.
So on 1st and 10 here for the Heat in the I formation, White hands it off to his running back, instantly stopped by the defense. That was James Redding trying to get a run up the middle, instantly stopped behind the line of scrimmage, a loss of 2 yards on the play, 2nd and 12.
Yeah, just a trip up there in the backfield, and I mean, it doesn't seem like much now, but it's going to add up, you know, if you don't make some, I mean, if you don't get a gain here, it's going to add up, and if you wait till 4th down, it's really going to look insurmountable.
So 2nd down and 12. Team comes out of the huddle. Another I formation for the Tennessee Heat. It's an I formation. Ball snapped. Pitched out again to Redding. He's going on the left side, and he is pulled down by several Knights players. It took him a while. He was dragging with his leg there. And 3rd down and 9, I believe they will mark this. So 3rd down and 8, actually, and an injury on the play for 24, James Redding. And
looks like a cramp there.
And with that injury timeout, we will stop this stream, and be sure to stay tuned to our YouTube channel, refresh the page, and we will be right back.